In the 2022 NBA Draft, the Detroit Pistons selected Jaden Ivey with the 5th overall pick out of Purdue. For his first 2 seasons, he showed real promise, averaging over 15 points per game in both years. But in 2024 and 2025, things took a turn. He suffered a broken fibula and began dealing with recurring injuries. That kept him in and out of the rotation, constantly battling to stay healthy. In my opinion, that's what led to him being traded to the Chicago Bulls. He went from a full-time starter in Detroit to coming off the bench. He just arrived in Chicago not too long ago, but when you're hurt and going through it, it can mess with your mindset. As an athlete facing adversity, that's when things can shift mentally. Some people started saying Ivey was becoming more of a religious zealot. Even on his Instagram, it says, "Jesus saved my life. Giving your life to Jesus is the greatest decision you can make." And with that being said, Jaden Ivey recently went viral for
proclaim LGBTQ. Right? They proclaim Pride Month in the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come join us for Pride Month, to celebrate unrighteousness. They proclaim it. They proclaim it on the billboards. They proclaim it in the streets. Unrighteousness. So how is it that one can't speak righteousness? How is it one that how are they to say that this man is crazy?
Whew, this was interesting because Jaden Ivey didn't just speak on the LGBTQ topic. He also addressed the NBA's recognition of Pride Month. You heard what he was saying. The world promotes LGBTQ and openly celebrates Pride Month in the NBA, putting it on display. He referred to Pride Month as unrighteousness. Now, the word unrighteousness isn't necessarily a slur, at least in my opinion. It just means something going against God's will. And if you look at certain religious texts, many interpret homosexuality as a sin. That perspective exists in Christianity, Orthodox Judaism, and Islam. You get the point. I don't think he was using slurs or trying to insult anyone, just speaking from a religious standpoint. But of course, people had a lot to say in response.
I was in his live when he made those comments about the lettuce, guacamole, bacon, tomato, quesadilla. I was in the f***ing live, and I commented, "Oh yeah, he's about to be gone from the Bulls." And look at this shit, he's gone. Ivey, what the fuck? Ivey, you can't talk about them, bro. You should know that by now. You can't say nothing about them.
Now, while Jaden Ivey's beliefs may align with Christianity, that's different from aligning with the NBA's agenda. When you bring up LGBTQ topics in contrast to something the NBA actively promotes, they're going to view it as hate speech and something worthy of punishment. Then you had critics weighing in. One person said, "Nobody in their right mind is throwing away their career over what someone gay is doing." And of course, people are starting to frame Jaden Ivey as unstable, saying he's possessed or dealing with mental issues. That's the narrative they're trying to push. But
AJ Griffin a couple years ago, and I have a feeling it's happening again with Jaden Ivey.
That's right. Jaden Ivey isn't the first player to risk his basketball career by speaking his mind. We saw something similar with AJ Griffin. Just a few years ago, he was a first-round pick, but he stepped away from the game while dealing with his own issues, limited playing time and falling out of the rotation. That gave him time to reflect, and in some ways, it's a similar situation to Jaden Ivey, although Ivey was still starting. Then he began speaking out on topics like this. AJ Griffin even touched on things like the mark of the beast, which is something often discussed in Christianity. He didn't specifically mention homosexuality, but he did speak on what he, Yara, as signs of evil or the last days. And lately, more athletes have been speaking out like this, even while still in the league. But Jaden Ivey himself responded to his suspension.
They said my conduct is detrimental to the team, right? Why didn't they just say we don't agree with his stance on LGBTQ? Why didn't they say that? But how is it conduct detrimental to the team? What did I do to the team? What did I do to the players? I did nothing but practice with them, play with them, pass the ball to them, good teammate to them. Said good job, good shot. I said good job, good pass. Way to play, bro. Right? I said these things to my teammates. Was never detrimental to them. So why is it that the NBA and the Chicago Bulls say that I'm detrimental to the team? How? Because I believe in the truth? Because I know Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life? How? How is my conduct detrimental to the team? Because of what I believe.
Exactly. Jaden Ivey got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, according to Billy Donovan and the Chicago Bulls. What they're really trying to do is paint him as unstable or crazy, but honestly, I don't see it that way. Ivey sees the world through his own lens, and a lot of people can relate to that perspective. That's why his comment section is full of Christians saying, "God bless you, brother." Millions of people feel the same way he does about the LGBTQ movement and how it intersects with politics. Here's the reality. When you work for big organizations, NBA, NFL, Apple, Google, or almost any top company, they're going to be LGBTQ friendly. That's just how it is. If your beliefs don't align with the company's initiatives, you're going to run into trouble. You either have to toe the line or create your own platform or business. YouTube and TikTok give a little more flexibility to express opinions as long as it doesn't cross into hate speech. But when it comes to a major employer, speaking against their initiatives will be met with zero tolerance. Jaden is saying that according to Scripture, homosexuality is unrighteous. That's his belief, and it aligns with his faith. But when your company supports LGBTQ initiatives and you speak against them publicly, it's considered hate speech in the corporate world. That's why his suspension came down. If you depend on your income and your family relies on it, you have to navigate those realities carefully. Content creators like us may have more freedom, but big organizations won't tolerate direct opposition. Jaden Ivey understands this, and we can all see what he's pointing out, but the consequence might be the end of his NBA career. What do you think about this situation? Do you see it as standing up for your beliefs or risking your future?